So welcome back everybody, and here we go again. Our next lesson of the day is 184 and it's from the Workbook, A Course in Miracles. So I am going to read through today's lesson as I always do, and the link is under this video for those of you who don't have a book to go through it. So yeah, let's just get straight into the lesson. So the statement of the day, which we're going to be repeating in our minds initially, is the name of God is my inheritance. So it kind of follows on from what we were talking about yesterday. You live by symbols. You have made up names for everything you see. Each one becomes a separate entity, identified by its own name. By this you carve it out of unity. By this you designate its special attributes and set it off from other things by emphasizing space surrounding it. This space you lay between all things to which you give a different name, all happenings in terms of place and time, all bodies which are greeted by a name. So here it's saying that, as we identify things in the world, we give it a name. So therefore we're separating it from our actual selves, like a person. We see the person, they have a name, and when we call out their name, it's like we're acknowledging to that person that they are a separate body from ourselves, like we give ourselves that name. We're therefore a separate body, and in the world of God, of love, we are all one. So as we do that, we're continuing this separation in the world, and we're trying to reverse that by coming up with this one name that we acknowledge as God, as love, as energy, source, creation, universe, whatever you want to call it, that one name, that's the name we're trying to resonate in our minds whenever we look at anything as we go through this lesson, and knowing that that's our inheritance, that's what we come from, that is the one true source. So this space you see as setting off all things from one another is the means by which the world's perception is achieved. You see something where nothing is, and see as well nothing where there is unity, a space between all things and you. Thus, you think that you have given life in separation. By this split, you think you are established as a unity which functions with an independent will. What are these names by which the world becomes a series of discrete events, of things ununified, of bodies kept apart and holding bits of mind as separate awarenesses? You gave these names to them, establishing perception as you wish to have perception be. The nameless things were given names, and thus reality was given them as well. For what is named is given meaning, and will then be seen as meaningful, a cause of true effect, with consequence inherent in itself. This is the way reality is made by partial vision, purposefully set against the given truth. Its enemy is wholeness. It conceives of little things and looks upon them, and a lack of space, a sense of unity or vision that sees differently become the threats which it must overcome, conflict with and deny. Yet does this other vision still remain in natural direction for the mind to channel its perception? It is hard to teach the mind 1,000 alien names and 1,000 more. Yet you believe this is what learning means. It's one essential goal by which communication is achieved and concepts can be meaningfully shared. And it's so true. If you think about the mind, because I was listening to Eckhart Tolle, I think I mentioned this yesterday, about how he sees thoughts. There was a lady on one of the videos he was sharing had this conflict in her thinking, and she was saying, 1 minute she'll believe something good is going to happen, and then she'll think, something bad is going to happen, and her mind keeps wavering back and forth between these two concepts, and she's like, I just want to feel certain, I just want to know what the truth is. And so she was asking Eckhart Tolle, what would be his remedy for this. And he was saying, if you think of the mind and the thoughts are like entities, not to come from a a scary concept, but an entity in that it's an energy that is in the mind, and there's another energy. So there's the good and the bad, say, energy in her mind, and they're both competing for an answer in her mind. It's driving her mad because she wants to know the answer. And the answer is just to let go of that, step back, because that's not who you are. It's an energy moving in your mind, and they're moving, and they're both trying to grasp and become a separate energy, but really it's all one. So when you step back and realize this energy is all you, all encompassing, that all drops aside, and all these individual meanings that the mind constantly wants to make, it's constantly creating another name for something, it's constantly creating something to pull you away from the knowingness of who you are. Because when you get into that space of silence and peace, you become the observer of the thoughts, and there's a resting place in that. But when you've become attached to your thoughts, which easily happens because that's how we're programmed to live, we make our thoughts real, and whatever's running through like a chain, we attach to, and off we go into that world. It could be any thought. We've got thousands, millions of thoughts running through our minds all the time, and we're running with them, creating all this separation, creating all this chaos, when really the stillness comes when we get off the train, we step back and we just let the train run on, let it run on, because it's part of us, it can't get anywhere. And it's like, what is that doing? That energy is part of me, and yet it's flying around. It's like another person. When we give them a name, we're giving them that separation. When really, when we can just see them as a source energy, which is part of us, that becomes a threat to the ego identity. It wants to hold on to the separate self because it's like, well, I won't exist then. But it will exist because it is part of the whole. And this is the concept to get our minds around, which is, again, what this beautiful course is aiming to teach us. So this is the sum of the inheritance the world bestows, and everyone who learns to think that it is so accepts the signs and symbols that assert the world is real. It is for this they stand. They leave no doubt that what is named is there. It can be seen as it is anticipated. What denies that is true is but illusion, for it is the ultimate reality. To question it is madness. To accept its presence is the proof of sanity. Such is the teaching of the world. It is a phase of learning everyone who comes must go through. But the sooner he perceives on what it rests, how questionable are its premises, how doubtful its results, the sooner does he question its effects. Learning that stops with what the world would teach stops short of meaning. In its proper place, it serves but a starting point from which another kind of learning can begin. A new perception can be gained, and all the arbitrary names the world bestows can be withdrawn as they are raised to doubt. So once we have this one name in our mind, it really starts to cleanse the world of all the names we've given it, so that it can become this place of unity, not separation anymore, unity. So the more we can keep this one name in our minds today and repeat it and see everything through that one name that you recognize as that one source, that is going to bring you closer to the truth. Think not you made the world. Illusions, yes, but what is true in earth and heaven is beyond your naming. When you call upon a brother, it is to his body that you make appeal. His true identity is hidden from you by what you believe he really is. His body makes response to what you call him, for his mind consents to take the name you gave him as his own. And thus his unity is twice denied, for you perceive him separate from you, and he accepts this separate name as his. So yes, as we call another person by their name, we are giving them an extra sort of belief in that they're separate. If we don't use the name, and if we just keep in our minds that you are one with me, we don't have to say it to them, but by feeling it and embodying it within ourselves, they will pick up on that rather than identifying them as a name. Don't bring the name into it. Don't deny the name by not acknowledging it. And you can do that in whatever creative way works for you. So it would indeed be strange if you were asked to go beyond all symbols of the world, forgetting them forever, yet were asked to take a teaching function. You have need to use the symbols of the world a while, but be you not deceived by them as well. They do not stand for anything at all, and in your practicing it is this thought that will release you from them. They become but means by which you can communicate in ways the world can understand, but which you recognize is not the unity where true communication can be found. So yeah, I mean, we're in this world of, say, darkness, because it's the separation, but we come into it to see it for what it really is, so that we can bring it back to the wholeness. That's our operation as we're in this world. What we're doing, our process as being here, is to start identifying with the world as a wholeness, but having to use the separate symbols to bring the wholeness back. And again, like I said before, that's where you use your creativity to do that, because once you know this truth, it's like you can't unsee it. Once you can see everyone as wholeness, you can't unsee it. And what you're doing is you're trying to bring those back with you. You know, you're seeing the wholeness in them, so they then can come back to themselves, and that then is given as a gift back to you. So it's this wonderful, to and forth that brings back the wholeness. Thus what you need are intervals each day in which the learning of the world becomes a transitory phase, a prison house from which you go into the sunlight and forget the darkness. Here you understand the word, the name which God has given you, the one identity which all things share, the one acknowledgement of what is true, and then step back to darkness, not because you think it real, but only to proclaim its unreality in terms which still have meaning in the world that darkness rules. Use all the little names and symbols which delineate the world of darkness, yet accept them not as your reality. The Holy Spirit uses all of them, but he does not forget creation has one name, one meaning, a single source which unifies all things within itself. Use all the names the world bestows on them, but for convenience, yet do not forget they share the name of God along with you. So yes, don't get lost in the illusion of the separation. Stay knowing in the wholeness, keep using that one name, keep it in your mind. It's not like you're saying it out loud, it's just keeping that in the mind when you're looking at things, knowing that everything is this one source, this one energy, this one creation. God has no name, and yet his name becomes the final lesson that all things are one. And at this lesson does all learning end. All names are unified, all space is filled with truth's reflection. Every gap is closed and separation healed. The name of God is the inheritance he gave to those who chose the teaching of the world to take the place of heaven. In our practicing, our purpose is to let our minds accept that God has given as the answer to the pitiful inheritance you made as fitting tribute to the Son he loves. No one can fail who seeks the meaning of the name of God. Experience must come to supplement the word. But first you must accept the name for all reality and realize the many names you gave its aspects have distorted what you see, but have not interfered with truth at all. One name we bring into our practicing, one name we use to unify our sight. And though we use a different name for each awareness of an aspect of God's Son, we understand that they have but one name which he has given them. It is this name we use in practicing, and through its use all foolish separations disappear which keep us blind, and we give strength to see beyond them. Now our sight is blessed with blessings we can give as we receive. So yes, it's just repeating that we are seeing everyone as one energy. We're keeping that name in our minds. We're using the separate symbols and things of this world to bring people back to who they really are, because we're recognizing that they are separate. Yes, we're using them. Yes, we're, operating within them, but it's not like we're operating in them within the darkness, within the unknowing of what's going on. It's like we're operating within the world with the truth, with knowing the truth. And so the lesson today is again to give yourself 5 to 30 minutes in the morning to really sit with the statement, the name of God is my inheritance. So say that, then think of the name and repeat that a few times in your mind as you really sort of think about the world and resonate with that one word, going through all things that come to the mind. And then keep reminding yourself throughout the day of this mission and how you're meant to be, tune into the guidance of how you are meant to sort of operate in the world, knowing this true one name. And then end your day again with a 5 to 30 minute practice just to recall maybe what's gone on in your day, how you saw it as one, and just to bring that realization as you go into that wonderful deep sleep. And so we'll just end with this one chapter at the end of today's lesson. Father, our name is yours. In it we are united with all living things, and you, who are their one creator. What we made and call by many different names is but a shadow we have tried to cast across your own reality. And we are glad and thankful we were wrong. All our mistakes we give to you, that we may be absolved from all effects our errors seem to have, and we accept the truth you give in place of every one of them. Your name is our salvation and escape from what we made. Your name unites us in the oneness, which our inheritance and peace. Amen. So that's our lesson today, and have a beautiful practice. Again, just staying with that one truth that you are this one source of energy. We all are. We're part of it. We're whole. Everyone is. Let's bring us back to that unity. Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone. I will see you again soon. Take care.